I need to copy some of these strategies. So like, if I would have tweeted this out, but I see I'm a loser. I do the losing strategy. I would say, this guy's literally publicly talking about Ethan's kids. Like, come on, bro.
Cancel culture has finally come for me. Oh my God, it's over. It's over. The free speech warriors. Where are you now? They've taken me out, ladies and gentlemen. It's over. I'm done. A couple days ago, I had a conversation where I was responding to the Republican House of Representatives speaker, and I said some things. Let's take a look at what I said. Libs of TikTok, of course, posted about it. Here's what Libs of TikTok claimed I was saying. Some parties just call for violence against a sitting U.S. senator. If you cared about Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott at FBI. This got 17,000 likes. It was on February 28th. Let's take a look at this clip really quickly.
There's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid just in fraud alone. No.
If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott, okay? You wouldn't make Rick Scott, former governor of Florida, Rick Scott, you wouldn't make him a prominent part of the Republican Party. Now, that seems like a wild thing to say. Oh my God. Is this person calling for the death of a U.S. senator? Of course not. I was not calling for the assassination of a U.S. senator. So I went back to figure out the context. Here it is. Let's take a look.
Are people who are covered by Medicaid now going to potentially lose Medicaid coverage as a result of this?
Now, look, the White House has made a commitment. The president said it over and over and over. We're not going to touch Social Security, Medicare, or Medicaid. We've made the same commitment. Now, that said, what we are going to do is go into those programs and carve out the fraud, waste, and abuse and find efficiencies. A couple of examples. There's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid just in fraud alone. No.
That fraud is not coming from individuals. It's coming from providers. They're not tackling providers. They're not actually going after like false billing. They are trying to cut recipients. If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott. The reason why I'm saying if you cared about Medicare or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott is because, and not make him a prominent part of the Republican Party, is because he to this day is still known as committing the largest Medicare fraud in U.S. history. They want to cut SNAP. They want to cut Medicaid. They want to cut the funding of Medicaid. They want to make it harder for people to receive Medicaid. They don't want to actually go after medical providers or the insurance companies or the nursing homes that are lining their pockets with major donations. Those are the people who actually engage in the fraud. It's not your uncle that's like lying about their condition and stealing money from the government by going to the doctor or whatever. Okay, so obviously I should have used hyperbolic language.
Wait, okay, so you did what you got banned for. What was the point of adding context to that? It doesn't, I mean, like, I think everybody understood what you were saying. I don't think adding more context to that changes anything, but okay.
And there's definitely some ownership that I must take. Some apologies there. I should not have said Mike Johnson should kill Rick Scott. I should have simply said Mike Johnson should punish Rick Scott, perhaps with the maximum punishment, whatever that would be, for defrauding Medicare and Medicaid for over $1.7 billion. Asmongold, for those of you who don't know, is a right-wing political commentator. He does have some centrist opinions every now and then. I believe he himself actually is a big advocate for healthcare, likes Bernie Sanders, but spends most of his time simply sitting around and reacting to Donald Trump. He is now, officially, by my estimations, a larger right-wing political commentator than even the likes of Ben Shapiro. Very successful in this field. His videos reacting to Donald Trump get millions of views, more so than the Daily Wire could ever dream of. Asmongold also is the largest political content creator on Twitch in general. He's the largest political streamer now. He's double my size. He's always been double my size, but he's now double my size when it comes to political commentary as well. So let's see what the largest free speech defender had to say. He actually voluntarily brings this up in a YouTube video called "What the fuck is Twitch doing?"
I love that these guys are fighting now.
YouTube videos from 2 days ago with 1 million views. The first 13 minutes of it is just reacting to the latest Ethan Klein video, who is falsely smearing me as someone who doesn't care about Israeli civilians or whatever, which is obviously incorrect, but we'll get to that perhaps down the line. He packaged that up with the Libs of TikTok video to call for my banning.
Let me see if I can find it here. As I said, I do try to maintain a degree of neutrality with a lot of this stuff, and I try not to go too super hard on it. I'll link you guys the video real quick before I get into it. And
he's linking the Ethan Klein video to his audience because, to show support.
Yeah, there's the video. It's the Ethan video.
Perhaps this is the reason why Ethan Klein doesn't talk about Asmongold and his apologia for certain regimes of the past. Ethan, who really cares about anti-Semitism, of course. That's why he constantly comes after me, someone he knows has a long track record alongside him at times, attacking anti-Semites and explaining to people what famous dog whistles are and things of that nature. But that'll be for a different day.
People are so ideologically captured, it's sad. I think a lot of people are. I saw this the other day, actually this morning. Where is it here? Here we go.
Hey, Dan Clancy. Tell me which is on another happy birthday song, you hack fuck. Anyone else get perma-banned on Twitch for this? This is beyond the pale. This is enticing your audience to kill a sitting senator. Don't people go to jail for this? This is not me enticing my audience to kill a sitting U.S. senator. That is ridiculous. Everybody knows that is ridiculous. The people that are complaining about this know that is ridiculous. But I'm glad that I was able to show you the context, the full context of what I was talking about. If you cared about Medicare fraud or Medicaid fraud, you would kill Rick Scott. Okay? You wouldn't make Rick Scott, former governor of Florida, Rick Scott, you wouldn't make him a prominent part of the Republican Party.
That is crazy. That is nuts. And I've said before, there's a statute of limitations, but apparently this was yesterday. Yeah, this happened yesterday even. Oh my God. How's it not against the TOS? It is. And it is an open call to violence. And I would challenge anybody who thinks that it's not an open call to violence to say that exact thing about Donald Trump and then tell me if Secret Service shows up at your house or not. Really. It's very obviously a call to violence. And Twitch doesn't do anything? Well, I don't know if they've really seen it or anybody's reported it or anything like that.
I think Asmongold is covering this because he wants Twitch to see it. He's done this a couple times in the past couple of weeks, I understand. We are ideologically butting heads on Twitch. Asmongold and I disagree vehemently on a lot of issues, all the way from the history of Nazi Germany down to the fact that immigrants are not actually contributing to the American crime rates the way that the Republican administration presents it. They're not destroying our culture in the way that Asmongold approaches the subject matter. There's plenty of disagreements there, and I think that he's doing this deliberately, I will say, in an effort to, shit stir a little bit and try to get me banned, which worked.
The clip's too short, maybe it's out of context. I hope so. I definitely do. Hopefully it's out of context.
Now, once he said this, does Asmongold go back and seek out the context? No, he doesn't. Instead, he follows through, basically packaging this as a Hasan is a radical who must be banned. It's a joke, Lamau, he responds to.
Would you tell that joke about Donald Trump?
I think people would tell way crazier jokes about Donald Trump, and people have told way crazier jokes about Donald Trump. My statement was hyperbolic. That much is obviously clear. But the intention of it was not a call to violence directly against a sitting senator, but instead was to show the hypocrisy of the Republican Party in terms of how little they truly care about Medicare and Medicaid fraud, because that happens at the point of the provider and not necessarily in the point of the recipients. They want to cut Medicare and Medicaid for the recipients to the tune of $800 billion, and in order to justify that, they will do everything in their power to lie and claim that it's actually your grandparents that are stealing from Medicare and not people like Rick Scott. Because people like Rick Scott either fund the Republican Party and oftentimes the Democratic Party as well, or they sometimes run for office as Republicans.
Rick Scott has won re-election to the United States Senate. Here are the numbers.
That's the point. Now, should the likes of Asmongold seek out further context? I think yes. I think when you have millions of people watching your videos, it would be nice to at least inform them of what the true context is. And now that this context exists, will Asmongold watch this video? Will he go back and say, hey, my bad? Maybe. I'll be honest. Perhaps he will do that. We shall see.
Donald Trump didn't commit Medicare fraud, but yes, if he did, then yes. Okay, so then no.
He then follows up with another tweet of mine. This isn't Hasan's only first foray into political violence. This was the weapon used to assassinate Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. Archive link and reply to his now deleted post. Well, I didn't delete it. Twitter forced me to delete this.
But I'll tell you this, it's not the first time. This is the second time. No joke. Yes, neither of these, by the way, have resulted in any sort of action from Twitch at all. Your Reddit advocated for killing too. Sorry for spam. Yeah, but here's the difference, right? When did my Reddit advocate for killing people? When did this happen? And also, when did I advocate for it?
He also then, to further push the narrative that I'm a radical, a scary radical who advocates for violence, he shows this tweet, briefly, my old tweet that Twitter actually forced me to ban, which is a tweet where I...
Wait, what is this? Why am I watching this? It's just going over Hasan versus Asmongold fighting? Is that...
Quote retweeted sitting U.S. Senator Tom Cotton, who was advocating to kill peaceful pro-Palestinian demonstrators all the way from April 16th, 2024, almost an entire year ago, where I famously quote retweeted the doohickey, or I guess a meme of a doohickey that was responsible for the assassination of Shinzo Abe. Now, of course, this wasn't serious. I fib. I did this in response to a sitting U.S. Senator who had previously in the New York Times written about executing Black Lives Matter protesters by using the military, and this time around, April 15th, was...
I need to copy some of these strategies. So, like, if I would have tweeted this out, but I see I'm a loser. I do the losing strategy. I would say, yeah, I did tweet out a death threat because this motherfucker's been saying shit like this over and over and over again. Fuck him, I don't care. But I see now that's the losing strategy. You have to live in both worlds. What Hasan does is Hasan says, well, no, this was a joke. I didn't mean this. But then he goes on to fully justify the actual threat. This is the key, right? Notice Hasan doesn't just say, okay, when I tweeted that, obviously I was joking. He says, I was tweeting that and I was joking. But this is a guy who had threatened to murder Black Lives Matter protesters. He was threatening to have people murder Palestinians. It's like, okay, well, you're giving so much justification. It feels like you're almost justifying tweeting a death threat at him. Like, own it. Be based, you know? I mean, I understand, I guess, why he wouldn't be. You don't want to get banned, sure. But, like, don't live in both worlds then.
All the way from April 16th, 2024, almost an entire year ago, where I famously quote retweeted the doohickey, or I guess a meme of a doohickey that was responsible for the assassination of Shinzo Abe. Now, of course, this wasn't serious. I fib. I did this in response to a sitting U.S. Senator who had previously in the New York Times written about executing Black Lives Matter protesters by using the military, and this time around, April 15th, was encouraging people. I'm going to read you his words. Senator Tom Cotton said this: I encourage people who get stuck behind the pro-Hamas mobs blocking traffic, take matters into your own hands to get them out of the way. It's time to put an end to this nonsense. This was, of course, a direct call to violence from a sitting senator, a direct call to violence against peaceful protesters engaging in an act of civil disobedience.
If something like this happened in Arkansas on a bridge there, let's just say I think there'd be a lot of very wet criminals that have been tossed overboard, not by law enforcement, but by the people whose road they're blocking.
So he then doubled down on it and said, we do things differently around these parts. I mean, he is. He's advocating.
Wait.
This was, of course, a direct call to violence from a sitting senator, a direct call to violence against peaceful protesters engaging in an act of civil disobedience.
If something like this happened in Arkansas on a bridge there, let's just say I think there'd be a lot of very wet criminals that have been tossed overboard, not by law enforcement, but by the people whose road they're blocking.
So he then doubled down on it and said, we do things differently around.
I mean, I guess if I don't know how high their bridges are, I guess that's a call to violence. To toss somebody over into the water, I guess is, I mean, it makes it sound like you wanted to murder them. But I mean, that is violent to forcibly remove people. That's true. But also, I mean, like blocking traffic is, I don't know how I feel about this form of protest. I feel like literally no matter what you're protesting, like even if I fully agreed with you, if you were blocking traffic somewhere, I would just hate you. And I would hate whatever your cause is. But maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm too much of a hater.
On these parts. I mean, he is. He's advocating for a direct call for violence. I jokingly quote retweeted that statement with the doohickey. But of course, that was apparently a bridge too far as well for Asmongold. I'm sorry. I've offended Asmongold's sensibilities. Of course, no comments on Tom Cotton, a sitting U.S. senator, actively urging his constituents to go out and kill peaceful demonstrators who are...
That's an... Okay, if you're going to say that by saying, man, if we were trying to cross some fucking bridge and there were protesters blocking it, there'd be a lot of wet protesters. If you're going to say that's a call to violence, then you're definitely at and past that call to violence by saying people should kill Rick Scott or whatever, or people, or here's a picture of the assassination gun used against the Japanese guy. Like, you're definitely way past that. If you're going to count that as a call for violence, like, or a call to murder people, Jesus.
There's no comments on Tom Cotton, a sitting U.S. senator, actively urging his constituents to go out and kill peaceful demonstrators who are, dare I say, peacefully demonstrating against a genocide. Make no mistake, it's most likely that Asmongold is simply responding to the things that he sees in his chat. Having said that, I wanted you guys to see the full context of the story. I was obviously not asking for people to kill Rick Scott. I think that would be ridiculous. I think that justice should be served, however, and justice has not been served against Rick Scott in this case. Justice rarely ever gets served against rich people who exploit others, against rich people who defraud the federal government. You get a $10 million care package with $300 million in stock options for defrauding poor people that absolutely need this medical care. And then Republicans will turn around and act like the real fraud is happening at the point of the recipients and not the point of the providers.
There's about $50 billion estimated that are lost every year in Medicaid just in fraud alone. No one's for that. We've got to make sure we eliminate it. We have the algorithms now to do that. We have advanced technology to find it.
Thank God for Speaker Johnson.
That is my anger. That is my
The
frustration.
algorithms.
And every single person, not Asmongold, but every single Republican operative online, from Tim Pool, the libs of TikTok, to many others, know that that is the reality. But they also want you to be distracted. They don't want you to realize that this is what the Republicans are doing. So I urge all liberals, progressives, or even people who are worried about their grandparents or their parents losing their health care, people who might be worried about their children no longer being able to receive Medicaid, to focus on who the vectors of harm truly are, what they're actually doing.
This is why we're doomed. And like, I don't care. Most of you disagree with this too. I don't give a fuck. This shit is never getting solved. You guys should die from your fucking lack of healthcare. The fascination on the right with whatever dumb shit they're going over, I don't even know what the fuck the right is, versus the fascination on the left of like, it's all the billionaires and the CEOs and that's it. Like, we're never getting any of these situations solved. Nobody wants to face the fact that healthcare is insanely expensive. In the United States, we want to do too many things at the same time. If we want to cut back on the costs, we're going to have to cut from somewhere. You can try to regulate some of these fucking insurance companies, whatever, a little bit more if you want, but that's not where the majority of the money is going. The majority of the money is going on an inordinate amount of cost of care. And unless you're willing to actually have a difficult conversation about that, which most of the American public is not, none of these issues are getting fucking fixed. It's just going to be bitching about these stupid bullshit ass things indefinitely until you have blamed every last billionaire and literally nothing has fucking changed about it.
Instead of constantly engaging in petty squabbles. I shouldn't have used the term kill. I should have used either the term capital punishment or just punishment in general. But once again, I've let you down. I've used hyperbolic language, and that hyperbolic language has brought trouble my way. As one of the largest progressive, leftist, political content creators online in what feels like is a sea of reactionary sentiment, I am promising you that I will try to use more deliberate and more careful language going forward. Having said that, of course, in an 8 to 10 hour broadcast when I'm constantly in a contentious battle with members of the chat, because there's always free flow conversation and a lot of back and forth going on in the community, there will probably be some moments that are clippable. But I will try to minimize them to the best of my ability. On that note, I love you all, and I will see you when I'm unbanned.
Good one. 12 hours later. Ethan's story responding to Froggy Tonic. Who is this guy's just what, a random fan or something of Hasan? Or who, I forget, who is this person again? Oh, iDubbbz' editor. There you go.
Base?
Frogan base. H3 Lord. Why did I? Okay. Froggy Tonic tweets, just learned 2 years before Ethan's dog's death, some H3 fans voiced concerns for his chronic vomiting, pointing to kidney failure, got shunned by other fans. Ethan declined the advice, stayed course, cheese as treats. Fast forward, dog dies of kidney failure at 6 years old, lifespan about 13 years. So now, how can you shun a fallen fan when they worry about their 3 kids, when they can't be bothered to protect their dogs? Little homie even ingested pills left on the floor. Like, come on, man. Okay. These evil fucking cunts are working around the clock. This former editor for iDubbbz said this. I took Shredder to the doctor many times over the years. I told him repeatedly about Shredder frequent puking. He always told me it was normal for his breed. I told him about his odd bad breath, and the doctor kept telling me he was fine. The doctor never ordered blood testing, although we did some probably a year before, and he was fine. Even the day before Shredder's diagnosis, I told my mom to bring him to the vet because he seemed off. We were on a weekend vacation with kids and Hila's mom, and even then he told us he's fine. Vitals look fine, and all is good. The very next day, Shredder started puking his dinner, so my mom, thinking she's being overly concerned, went back the next day and insisted they do a blood test. We had to call the next day saying Shredder had stage 4 kidney failure and needed to be hospitalized to have his kidneys flushed or he would die. Does kidney failure work in stages? Damn. He spent the next 3 days in the hospital, and while we got his values to go down, the damage was already done, and over the next 6 months, his kidneys continued to give out. This is one of the most painful and traumatic experiences of my life. I love that dog with my entire heart and soul and would do anything for him. Using this as some psychotic own to impugn my characteristic is just cruel and pathetic on a level most humans aren't capable of. Fuck you, piece of shit. My friends too, who I have stood by all these years, who now can't find their spine. True! I don't need any fair weather friends. Damn, do I want the American Kidney Fund or the National Kidney Foundation? We'll go to the National Kidney Foundation. Stage 4, chronic kidney disease. That means you have severe loss of kidney function. People with stage 4 have an estimated glomerular filtration rate between 15 and 29 for 3 months or more, confirmed with repeat testing to make sure you don't have acute kidney injury. Another way to think about these numbers is your kidney is working at, or are working at 15 to 29% over the average 2 healthy kidneys in a young person can do. Damn. The stage 4, does it go to stage 5? I don't even know there were stages of kidney failure. Did they ever mention stage of kidney failure in House? Ethan Klein drops a 3-part IG story calling out his former editor. Okay, we saw that. Former editor responds. Brother, you're 39. Go pick up the leftover Lexus and Addies off the carpet and go clean the feces off your floor. Didn't one of your kids get giardia? One of the things that's so annoying about the way that the leftist, I say leftist, it's all online radical extremist ecosystems work, but like Hasan has fostered this, is you get all of these unhinged, deranged people underneath you to do these crazy attacks. But because they're so powerful when it comes to attacking people, canceling people, whatever, nobody in your corner will ever stand up and say anything. So they'll just sit there and be cucked and allow it to happen. Meanwhile, if Ethan responds to any of these people, Ethan looks bad because people say, wow, Ethan, why did you didn't have to do that? Why did you have to go that far or whatever? You know, like what the dude? Because nobody on Ethan's side is going to do anything because I'm guessing Ethan probably doesn't have a fan base that engages in this type of behavior. Hopefully not normally. This is the issue that I have. So then these people just can make the most unhinged attacks, and then people like Hasan can riff off these attacks without ever actually doing them himself, and he can always deny responsibility over it. It's such a frustrating thing. Well, I guess this is just like crazy. I'm not going to pull the classic Ethan Klein, and I'm going to let most of you be able to ask me to kill myself. I'll clean the feces later, hoping my followers and the replies don't catch giardia. You have to wonder if it's full Destiny fans, if we're even deeper in the weeds, or if it's legit just lovely little H3 fans because I clocked it. Ethan, no fair weather Klein. You asked your audience to come say hello, but of course I'm the harassing party, obviously. This guy's literally publicly talking about Ethan's kids. Like, come on, bro. You're on levels of unhinged shit. Also, yeah, why does Destiny always get mentioned? What the fuck? Dean needs to stop watching The Nuke. I like Dean, but I can't stand how he keeps skipping around and not really paying attention. He's too focused on the editing. Just stop watching it. At one point, Hasan says he absolutely hates liberals, and Dean brushes it off, saying Hasan probably doesn't mean it because he was nice to him on and off stream a couple of times. Like, what? Hasan is such a snake. He's sitting there brainwashing the kid off air, buttering him up so that he won't talk shit about him. Just stop watching the video. You're already brainwashed. This is just like that girl who said Kendrick doesn't do as much for Compton as Hasan does. Wait, what is the context for that? What the fuck? Hasan mentioned her once on stream, and she was so hypnotized by his presence that she started an entire war with the black community on TikTok for him. I get that Dean's attention span's probably wrecked from TikTok doom scrolling, but if you can't handle an hour-long discussion, maybe you should just stop watching.
Compton, can I have receipts? If you're from Compton, what have you done for Compton? Can I have receipts?
What is Hasan?
If Kendrick Lamar is some secret mutual aider, I will shut the fuck up right now. I'll delete my videos.
Hi Grace, here I am to give you the receipts that you requested so that you can take down this video, okay? So Kendrick Lamar is not a secret mutual aider. He is a very well-known philanthropist when it comes to Compton and different community organizations. Across his entire career, Kendrick has not only donated his money, but he's also donated his time, his effort, and his love to Compton. But if we're gonna talk about money, right, because you brought up mutual aid, even though this would be philanthropy, not mutual aid, he donated $200,000 after the Juneteenth pop-out. That $200,000 went across 20 different organizations, which I will post here. You can pause to read, that either directly help communities within Compton or across the greater LA area. So you say in your video,
Hasan Piker, the guy who analyzes politics on Twitch for like 8 hours every day,
Analyzes politics, kill me.
quite literally has done more to help the incarcerated population of Los Angeles.
Oh, because he talked to those guys on stream once.
Then Kendrick Lamar. Hasan Piker has done more to help the unhoused population of Los Angeles. Then Kendrick Lamar.
Interviewed incarcerated firemen one time, and then another time he interviewed.
People with good politics supposed to be impressed by Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance.
What the fuck are we doing? I feel like I'm going on a...
People want me to apologize for disrespecting Kendrick Lamar. I'm not going to do that because he doesn't need my respect. He's a millionaire. What I will apologize for is speaking rashly and saying something without Googling first. That's my bad. I shouldn't have done that. However, I think it's really interesting to see what people get angry at, what the collective outrage is directed at. I made a wild statement about a black deity, and I've been getting eaten alive for people who probably were really happy to see that a black woman was running for president for the first time. And I think it just comes down to black people, that a black woman was running for president for the first time. And I think it just comes down to black people.
People with good politics supposed to be impressed by Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance.
I had an almost 10-minute video recorded.
So I've been getting a lot of comments this week saying that I'm condescending, that I'm talking at you instead of talking to you, that I'm talking down to people, that I'm not letting people enjoy things. Guys, Kendrick Lamar literally...
Guys, the reason why I crashed out in my analysis of Kendrick Lamar's Super Bowl performance is because the phrase, if you give them bread and circuses, they will...
Hey, are people with good politics supposed to...
Y'all are really insistent on coming to me and saying that Hasan Abi is misogynistic, therefore I should not support him. However, I think the problem is y'all are more concerned with unproductive cancel culture rather than actually facilitating growth for a person so they can rectify their past mistakes. We live in a patriarchal society that quite literally teaches men to devalue and deprioritize women. I am by no means excusing that behavior. However, we have to be realistic about why people do the things that they do. You cannot be upset with someone for not knowing how to treat a goddess without ever taking the time to teach them how to treat a goddess. Hey guys.
What the f is this?